Okay, we are up and running. We'll wait just a little bit, see if we get some people to join. Looking at yourself, even just for a couple minutes, you start to see things like you need to shave. Crazy thing is, I'm starting to get, oh crap, I'm not good with this. Other side, I don't know if I starting to get gray hairs. I don't know. You can't see them on here, but I don't know. Okay. Tell you what, the weather has been extremely nice today. It was up in the 70s today, and very enjoyable. But I have bad sinuses and allergies. I take a allergy pill every day, and then I get allergy shot about once a month or so, or once every 2 months, and it just helps block all stuff. But there's days like today where yesterday was in the 50s, high 40s, low 50s, and then today is 20 degrees higher almost. Um, it definitely, I had a headache most of the day, so and just stiff neck, and I should be, you'd think it would be real perky and nice. Boy, my body doesn't like that quick change. So I don't know. Only topic I can think to talk about. It just caught my eye. I was searching for some topics, and I came across a part for 7.3 and 6.0 that it's one of those parts that I just don't understand why they make it. I if you have if you keep up on your truck, and I'm going to show a couple other parts the same way. I have two. I'm searching for other ones, and I'll probably do that as we talk. And if you guys have any, let me know. I'll look it up. But I look at this and I read the description, and I can't understand the purpose of this part. So I'm going to flip the screen. Okay. So we have this new Ford 7360 Power Stroke boost relief valve. 94 to 07 Ford Power Stroke. And you obviously put it in line of the hose that runs from your manifold to your map sensor. And it's got the pressure relief there and a couple ports I guess you could tap in with sensors, but a 6.0 will get up to 25, 27 pounds of boost. And this thing, it says here, where is it? Eliminates the service engine soon light caused by overboost. Valve is set to relieve pressure over 20 psi. The service engine soon light for overboost will come on at about 25 psi, causing the PCM to decrease fuel delivery. That is not true. Some of the older ones, but you could touch 25 psi and it would not set the check engine light. Normally it sets the wrench light. And I just don't understand. I flip back, shouldn't have. That's what is this? It's an 1/8 inch NPT boost gauge port. how is that going to be enough of an opening to decrease boost? I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it'll do a little bit, but normally when you're over boosting, a couple pounds aren't going to cause any trouble. It's when you hit 30 psi or more for an extended period of time, and it causes damage that way. I don't get it at all. Don't get it. It just to me is a useless part. When in reality, if your truck's over boosting, you need to fix it. Or if your turbo, you have a turbo and supporting things on your engine to make over 25 pounds of boost because you're wanting to make more boost, then this is useless as well. So I don't understand where this comes in to actually help somebody. To me, it's somebody said we can sell this to somebody, and it's I mean, it's $69. They're not making a ton of money on it. It's I don't get it, because really all that block in was to easily add a source for a another map sensor, basically, so you have redundant map sensors, or it was used on another car. That was an easy place you could tap in, put that in the hose of, could be going to your wastegate possibly or something like that, and you could read map that way or something. But I don't get it. Hey, Dunbar. Look like we got some. I mean, hello, just finished working on the truck. It was a slight exhaust leak causing the loss of power. Map EVP boost readings went up and VGT below 85. Very nice. Good to hear. The part that I'm talking about, I'm sure I don't think it's a ball valve. It's just like a check valve. Basically, once internal pressure gets over a certain amount, it pushes it off its seat. The only other thing I can think of like that is like an air compressor has a pressure relief valve, and they let off quite a bit of air, but your air compressor, like I have a 80-gallon air compressor with a twin cylinder on it, and I'd imagine that does not have the amount of airflow that your 6-liter. I mean, if that's a V twin engine, let's say it's like a Harley. Let's look at something real quick. Stop sharing. I'm going to look at something else. What's your average Harley? Engine size. Okay. Let's say it's a 1200 cc. No, is that right? Okay, wait a second. But now I've got to start doing some other digging. Okay. So let's say this pressure relief valve that we have right here. Now let me go flip the screen. wait for it to. Okay, so this pressure relief valve, let's say it is the same size valve that is used on a compressor you can buy at Lowe's. That's everybody's seen that, you know, the ones they sell at Lowe's or Home Depot, those 80 gallon, I'm pretty sure it's 80 gallon with the V-twin compressor on it. So let's say that's a 1200 cc, and that's on the big side, just so we can think about it. That can relieve enough pressure. That thing is equivalent, 1200 cc is equivalent to 1.2 liter. Okay, let's change this to 6,000 cc engine would be, that pressure relief valve is not going to be able to relieve the pressure, because if you have a turbo that can produce enough air to produce more air than what that 6 liter can ingest, so your boost is a restriction or a measure of restriction, so it can put enough pressure. What is 1 bar is atmosphere, so let's do psi to bar. Yeah, okay, that didn't. Anyway, so atmospheric pressure is what, 15 psi? So that's double the pressure. That's no, I don't. So it's just, I see stuff like that, and I don't get it. Moving on to another part that I don't understand. Let's find it here. Here it is. Because I've personally, before these were being made, I had a customer. He's no longer my customer, and I'm okay with that. Perfectly fine with that. He had an oil cooler issue, and I don't know how many times I'd driven the truck before for other stuff, and I'm like, you need an oil cooler. You need an oil cooler. And he just, are you sure? Yeah, you need an oil cooler. Well, I bought this truck. They supposedly put one in it, and it's just like, well, I don't know to tell you, it's not working. This is the beginning, I think, of the cheap. It's my chat just reset. We get some people to join. Once a day. I tried pills. Give me a second. Serums. I tried. So it did. I think my chat reset. Okay. My internet is slow. I didn't get a chance to call last week. Got busy Friday. So I'm going to call tomorrow and try to figure out what is going on. That's my okay, so this is the beginning, I think, of starting to see a lot of cheap oil coolers to where they weren't cooling properly. They weren't, people would put them in and they were instantly clogged. They were just cheaply made knockoffs. And no, I'm sorry. I've got my phone. I've got the live stream up on my phone as well, and it went to a commercial. It reset and then went to a commercial, and then it froze on the advertisement. So I don't know. So it was the start of the oil coolers going bad, and he said they just put one in. He bought it like a year ago or so. And he read on a forum of people that were back flushing them. And they were getting a garden hose and air pressure and basically pulsing the oil cooler. And you would take the cap off the back port where the EGR cooler plumbs into the oil cooler for coolant. And you would pressurize through that. You drain the coolant, pull the lower radiator hose off, and you let it drain out the lower radiator hose and not go in the radiator. And he talked me into doing this, and I still have the thing made to this day. And I've only used it on his truck because I went out and drove the truck. I got it up to operating temp, steady speed, paid attention to the oil, coolant temp and oil temp, and then came back to the shop, let it cool a little bit, and then proceeded to flush the oil cooler. And it was a freaking mess because you drain the coolant, but the amount of water and air you're bursting through that's blowing out the lower radiator hose. If you've got the truck in the shop, you're going to flood your shop. It was a ton of water. It was a freaking mess. And I forgot how long I did that. I would sit there and just leave the hose running for a while. Then I'd go over and hit it. I had a valve on it where I could hit it with shop air, over 100 PSI shop air. And then I'd let it sit with the water for a while. And then I'd let it sit with the air on it too. And I'd go back and forth. And I went out and drove it, and it may have dropped 5 degrees. And it's just, what's the point? So what I'm getting at here is these parts that you see shared everywhere. And for some reason, they're popular. Is this part here. 03 to 07 Ford 6.0 Power Stroke diesel engine coolant oil cooler back flush kit. I don't get it. I don't get it. It doesn't fix your oil cooler. It's a Band-Aid, if that. And by the time you go and you spend the time to put this kit on, you could have already been, had your turbo off. Well, you don't have to blow your turbo off to do that, put these on, but you could have had your turbo off and on the way to pulling your intake manifold to replace the oil cooler. I don't get it. People could not talk me into this at all. I don't understand. Damn it. Stop sharing. Sorry about that. Let's see. Here you go. Modem hot water tank has a relief valve and it releases pressure if I use high settings. I guess it works similar to that, but releasing the boost. Yes, that is yes. But think of the size of the pressure relief valve on the side of a hot water heater. They're big. Or they're good size. They have a lever on them. Good size. This is just a little pop-it valve. And I don't have any sitting out. The only one I think I have is the one on my air compressor, and that one's small as well. And it's I don't know. But yeah, the Dunbar sounds like more than a replacement of the cooler. More than a replacement of the cooler. My live stream just reset on my phone again. Is anybody else having problems? And now it's stuck again. This is such a pain in the ass tonight. No problems. Okay, well, that's good. It's probably my Wi-Fi. Let's see what let's do a bandwidth test. So what do you all think about that? Can you think of any useless parts? The build of the cooler flush equipment. Yeah. I mean, installing that piece isn't too terrible, but by the time you go through the process, I always get tired doing these. It's probably all the talking. Um, by the time you install it, I just don't see any use in it at all. Yeah, I agree, man. Just fix it correctly. I mean, you're band-aiding the item. If you do blow some stuff out, you're not going to be able to completely unclog it. That's what that's what I think a lot of people are under the impression that they can do that and unclog them and their problem goes away. I don't. It's fake. My uploads 3.28 megabytes. That's not bad. Downloads 27. This internet provider says that I should be getting 5 upload. I don't know. We'll see. It is not worth the towing bill. So true. Is there any parts that you guys know of that you want me to look up that you think are useless parts we can talk about here? The cap, I would imagine they are too small. Yeah, I would agree with that, Dunbar. I mean, it's just you might knock some stuff loose, um, but it's. Let me see if I can find a picture of a cut open oil cooler to share. Images. Yes, here we are. Share. And that I think Bulletproof is, yeah, it's Diesel World Magazine's using Bulletproof diesels, and that's what I pulled up. There you can see on the right hand side, well, in the middle of the right hand side, those passages are tiny. That slows the oil and coolant down so much where it's got a snake through there that if anything gets lodged in there, I'm sure it gets lodged and is not coming out. Yeah. Yeah, it is nasty. There's something else I saw a second. Oh, again. There's something else I was. Went quiet for too long. I was thinking of something. What was I thinking of? I don't know. I can't remember. Guess I'm looking for other useless. Let's just do 6.0 Power Stroke useless parts. What comes up? Oh, let's. That might not be. visit site, prosourcediesel.com. The 6.0 Power Stroke parts most likely to need replaced. Glow plugs, glow plug harness, glow plug module, Y pipe, high pressure oil pump gasket kit for the Power Stroke. I've not had oil leaks intentionally, or like that is not a high leak area. Camshaft position sensor pigtail, maybe. Yeah, any of the oil. That one maybe. Boots, yes. IPR, yes. Push rods. I feel like they're just trying to sell stuff. Get out of there. Yeah. Nasty. James Schroeder, oil cash cans bad for turbo seals on 6.0. Not that I know of. I don't even know how that would affect oil seals on 6.0, because as long as you don't have a restriction. Give me a second. Yeah, as long as there isn't a restriction in your catch can, like if you're using one that's not going to flow very much because the baffles on the valve cover for the crankcase gases to flow out can on the diesels can flow quite a bit compared to like the PCV system on a gas engine. So you'd want to make sure you have a pretty good size hose and pretty good size reservoir, but I can't see a reason why it would be bad on the turbo seals. What is there a reason? Did you hear something? Did you read something? Dunbar, any idea? An idea could be how to spot Ford counterfeit parts sold, but probably would need more. Oh, that's a tough one. Just because somehow they can. Well, it's probably just like any Chinese made. We'll use Chinese made stuff. Is how do you know if it's real? Because it was years ago, Sinister Diesel was going after anybody that reproduced the same color they were using. And their biggest issue wasn't the people, other businesses in the United States, even though they were getting the cease and desist letter. But if I remember correctly, I heard them say that their biggest problem was overseas sales on places like eBay. And they could try to go after them, but it normally didn't work. You still can find stuff on eBay sometimes, but they probably went after eBay to an extent too, because I think eBay has to carry some kind of liability with that. Monum only 04 had the shutter. What do you mean by that? What do you mean the shutter? Does Mishimoto have a good one on PCV? Theirs looks pretty small. I don't know anybody that makes a large one for the 6.0. Moto 6.0. Catch. Yeah, theirs is tiny. Well, it looks small anyway. Let's see if we can find one mounted somewhere. Yeah, they mount it under. Let's share this. It's just a thumbnail. I'm not going to watch the move. What just happened? Okay. Real quick. Very much. Dunbar very much so on the counterfeit parts. Yeah, give me a second. Okay. I was thinking about getting one for this F650-60. It needs one bad. Probably because your compressor wheel's covered in baked oil. Okay, let's share Moto. What we got here? Okay, so on the right-hand side of the screen there, you will see the catch can, and you can see the hoses running up. I believe that's on the, it's mounted to the running board bracket. It uses the running board bracket bolts. I like that because it's down low, and all the moisture will go down and collect there. So then it'll be easy to service. But it just doesn't look that big. And with his, I mean, you guys have seen in my 3.5 liter how much that one makes. Actually, I need to check that now that I think about it. I feel like you'd be draining this thing every week, which for a long trip, if you were, say, towing a camper cross country and you're towing for 6 hours to 8 hours that day, you'd have to stop and drain this thing whenever you stop for fuel ever. And that, nobody wants to get on the ground, lay on the ground by the pumps at a truck stop to drain their water separate or their thing. Let's see if I can find one. What did I just do? Yeah. Who else makes one? Sinister Diesel makes one. Number thought about plumbing in a 1-inch pipe online air compressor filter in the PCV connection to catch the. I don't know. I don't like getting rid of the PCV system to where you're not getting rid of it, but where you're basically like a Cummins draft tube. I don't like that on the 6.0 because it was that engine, the seals and that engine, like the crank and cams, not cam seal, front main, rear main were designed to have a vacuum on them when running. That was the design of the engine. And when you go to vent to atmosphere, it doesn't have that suction on it. And so that's a lot of times why we see a lot of oil leak issues on the 6.7 Power Stroke, is because the PCV system, they call it an oil reservoir or something. It sits on the, let me show you. It sits on the driver's side valve cover. All these are going to be deletes. I don't agree with the deletes. And Ford's been trying to fix it, and I don't know if they came up with a real fix, because legally for emissions they have to have it, and it cannot flow. There's a certain amount of flow that they have to allow, and they're not. Let me show you what it looks like here. Not dumped to atmosphere, closed system, just in line with the PCV to intake tube. Yeah, I mean, if you had a way to I mean, really all you need to do is have some kind of baffle to separate the air from the oil, or basically it catches the atomized oil and water and it falls down that way, but then the air can continue to move through the system. Yes, like Mishimoto. Yeah. I've watched people build their own online, and they use the media they use basically to, it acts like a filter. They use Scotch-Brite pads. So let's do and I can't find any. Are there any images? Oh, damn moth. Well, that may not have been a moth. Brillo pad, steel wool is used as well. And I'm not having any luck finding. Yeah, I'm not going to share it. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you could make something, I'm sure it would work fine. Let's see, new parts. Catch can. Sorry, I'm looking up catch cans again. Yeah, none of them are very big. I just don't understand how they expect. Like, I'd want one almost the size of the coolant reservoir, to where it's actually a large container. That's, I've thought if I get one, or if I ever put one on a diesel, I'd like to make it. I mean, really, it wouldn't have to be that big. Yeah, I'm not finding any. Yeah, quart or more, I believe, would be a good size. Maybe make it in like the shape of a triangle of some kind, or a square, but the bottom is kind of angled, where it comes down to a triangle or whatever at the bottom somehow. That way, all that water drains down, and you could have a drain valve down there. Would work. I'd like to that, or if you could. Wonder if they make. I was thinking of like a filter for air compressor system, but it may not flow enough air. I don't know. Yes, definitely larger than the one on the F-150. That's what, because those get full very quick, and I definitely, I just when you're in a diesel, you're in it, and you need to keep moving. You don't want to have to stop, and you don't want that thing to ingest, because if it gets too full, it could possibly suck that water and oil mixture into the engine. Last thing you want to do is force a bunch of fluid into your engine. 1-inch NPT air filter. I gotta Google this. 1-inch NPT air filter. Oh, just so put that in the box or somehow put it concealed so that acts as the media. So then, yeah, I mean, that would probably work. The only downside of that is that filter media on those filters are not the greatest material, and so they can deteriorate over time. In line with PCV, yep, just a starting place. Yeah. See, I'm thinking of if I had to build something that I didn't want to have to mess with, or a customer was having me make something, I'd have to try to think of it as something that would hold up over time. Customers rarely maintain properly, so you need something that would go longer service life than what you tell them, because they're always going to go longer on. You can tell somebody to go 5,000 miles on oil change, and they'll always stretch it out 2,000 miles. They always do. So if you tell them to service, drain this thing, start off by draining it once a week, they're always going to forget, and it's going to be a month later. So that's always how it goes. Between oil changes, drain it then. Yep. What is this? Yeah. Doing exhaust dump for the 6.0 PCV. That would pull a vacuum on it. Huh. I just don't know, Chad. I mean, I get it. I know that they've been doing that on race engines for years. I just don't know if it would pull a vacuum. They would put it in the exhaust and burn it. Or well, in a diesel, it wouldn't. The exhaust temps on a 6.0 in the exhaust pipe wouldn't be really hot enough to burn it, and then you might have a lot of oil buildup in your exhaust. They make inline filters that dump each time pressure is relieved from the system. Yeah. Each time pressure is relieved from it. Yeah. So you're thinking of like the filters, like the for air compressors, the ones with like sight glasses on them, and you can get them in different sizes. That might work. I don't know. I guess I'd have to do the math to figure out how much air flows through the PCV system, which I don't know. And would it clog it? Or maybe I'm thinking too much into it. I don't know. Though a compressed air filter system, if it's designed that it can run up to 150 psi, and didn't get it. It might be able to do the low flow of the PCV system. Throughout 1-inch tubing on the PCV system. Yeah, it is. It's not very. It's they line that up right on the 6.0 where there's not long tube or anything to deal with. Guys, is there anything else anybody you can think of? I did not come. Yeah, I've seen some people plumb them in. They're pretty difficult to plumb in on the 6.0. Some people try to switch. How do I explain this? So if you get an 03 to early 04, it may have just been 03. If you get an 03 driver side valve cover, the baffle on those were internal to the valve cover, and so they had the room because they had that smaller oil rail. And once they went to the big oil rail, the one that's got the webbing through it that we're all used to seeing, that the D plugs and everything are in, when they went to that, they didn't have room underneath the valve cover, so they had to then put the baffle system external to the engine and raise the FICM and everything. So if you could get an 03 valve cover, guess I'm getting close to bedtime or something. If you had an 03 valve cover, you could tap in and put a 90 coming out there. And really, you don't need any baffling there, because the baffling really that would catch any oil or anything would be in the catch can. So then again, being exposed to the valve train there, you might suck a little bit more oil into the catch can, since you're getting rid of factory baffling that slows that oil flow into the PCV system. So yeah. So if you could find a way to baffle, it's ridiculous. Only 38 years old. Okay. About 48 minutes into this, and I don't know if you guys are having trouble. I mean, a bunch of you said no, but my live stream is reset I don't know how many times. Chad, there's a theory that the oil coming into the inlet on the turbo is a good thing. Not sure how I feel about it. I've never heard anybody. Well, okay, let me rephrase this. Years ago, when I would have a symptom, or we're chasing problems on a 6-liter or a 7.3 or 6.4, 6.7, and we would contact Ford's hotline, which from what I understand, talking to guys that I know still work at Ford now, the hotline is not what it used to be. Used to, you could actually contact these guys and get great information about things. You could talk to them and kind of bounce things off of them, and they would give you information that you wouldn't get anywhere else. And now supposedly that is no longer. So I feel bad for everybody working in a Ford dealership now, that the people that really, you get stumped and you have no option. It sucks. But years ago, the guys used to say there should be no oil in the char fair cooler system. And then over time, that changed. Like, they would say, if there's any sign of oil, you need to figure out where the problem is and you need to fix it. The engine's over full. You got turbo seals leaking. They'd go on. You got blow by in the engine. It was crazy. And so as time went on, their tune changed a lot. and they were accepting of some oil, but they didn't want excessive amount. And they would always say that, but you'd say, "What? How do you know if it's excessive amount?" Well, that's your judgment. You have to figure that out. And over time, the oil going through and getting caked on the inside of the engine can build up as carbon as it heats and get stuck to the back of intake valves and everything. I'd have to see somewhere that somebody studied it and actually found out if it was good or bad. That's what I don't think it would be a big deal, because if catch cans are extremely common on engines now. I remember years ago that was nothing talked about, and now factory cars like Ford Performance offers catch cans for Mustangs. I don't know if they still do, but they did. Or it was a baffling of some kind, like a catch can. From reading the forum, one of the public possibilities of 6.0 losing power due to choke-like shutter on the intake found on the 04 only. Okay, so it's not a shutter. That was the EGR throttle plate. So the 6.0 was the first to see it, and then they were able to get rid of it somehow. Then it's mandatory. The 6.4 has it, and the 6.7. So what that valve does is it creates turbulence in the air system to create a tumbling effect. And when your EGR valve opens, that valve, think of it like a throttle plate on a gas engine. It's always sitting in the wide open throttle. So you have a throttle, that plate sits in there. Okay. And it's always in the wide open throttle position. When they start to open EGR, they'll start to close it partially to create turbulence in the pipe or in the intake to then mix the EGR in the system. And so, yes, the 6.0, I have seen issues where that basically fails and it could cause lost power. I can't remember the last time I saw a 6.0 with one of those in, because then later on, they would have the plug-in, would have the assembly there, and I'd tear into it to do some work. Say I was pulling the intake or cleaning stuff up or doing something, and the electrical plug-in was plugged into it, and you take it apart and there was no valve. So eventually they got rid of it on the 6.0. So you could get rid of that assembly on the early 6.0 and go to a 05 to 07 elbow and be fine. Yeah. What causes a shutter to do this? And yeah. Okay. So I explained it. Yeah. Yeah. You can eliminate it and the truck will run fine. If you have a real early one, having it disconnected may set a code, but it should be what's called like a soft code. It shouldn't set the check engine light, because most EGR related codes in the 03 and early 04, any of those emission codes would be a soft code. They wouldn't set the check engine light. It wasn't until 05 that they started being considered a hard fault. The proliferation of catch cans is because of the engine's carbon buildup in the back of the valves, like you were talking about. Yeah, no, I agree 100%. It has been more so with the DI, gasoline direct injection, but there's other areas where people are. I feel like it's because everybody turbocharges anything anymore, or any kind of positive displacement. So they add a supercharger, turbocharger, and when you add those, you can then create condensation in the system, and you want to get that out of the intake system. So a lot of times people will then bring that on. But it's just whenever I was younger and I was getting into cars, I don't ever remember people talking about cash cans. Normally a cash can was only seen on a very expensive race car. Your average guy that turbocharged their Honda or had a Cobra years ago, you never talked about catch cans. But maybe then again, I'm 20 years later, and maybe it's just, I don't know. It's just one of those things where the more you talk about, the more you see it. As it's that mind game where let's say you buy a new car and you never noticed these cars before all over the place. And since you bought that car, now you see them everywhere. It's just that mind trick that can happen. Would one off a van work? Should. It should. I think those intake elbows are the same. I had one sitting around here. I have several now I think about it. A stock one will work. I mean, truthfully, you could buy a knockoff. I say knockoff. You could buy one of these Monum. Let me find it. They're sold all over the place. Everybody sells them like they're supposed to add power. I think Banks sells one that they claim it increases. I don't know how that little bit will. Anyway, I digress. There we are. Oh yeah, AFE Power has one. S&B Filters has one. Yeah, you don't need to spend much money. Jeez, here we are. Here's one on Amazon. It'll probably do the job. Let me flip my screen. If you're going aftermarket, ODOG. I guess I was thinking intake. Oh, air filter. Intake manifold. Yeah, you could definitely go ODOG. Wrong thing. There it is. Here we are. 5642. Unbolt your. I'm pretty sure it'll bolt right out. 03807 right there. It says it right there. You could even add some ports there. You could do some propane injection. Where'd that go? That was a big thing years ago too. Why'd propane injection disappear? Probably too many people blowing stuff up. Oh, I did it. I made did I share that in a video years ago? That's been a long time. My buddy's still driving around in that intake manifold. We made our own ported manifold. That's pretty cool to do. I welded all the bungs in, and a lot of people would cut them in half, which, God, I'd hate to do that. But they would cut the manifold in half and grind out all the, let me do this. Does ODOG make some for the 6.7 Power Stroke too? That's impressive if they do. Well, I cannot find. There it is. Oh, theirs is physically taller. That's a bad picture too. Come on, man. Here we are. Okay. Let me share this. Chad runs to Dry and hurts engine too easy is what always heard. Oh, propane and diesel. Yeah. Makes sense. I'd imagine it probably creates a combustion that burns a lot of oil, and diesels always like to have oil. They're oily, so I could see them helps lubricate things. Okay, let's do this again. Share my screen here. Is it going to share? What's going on here? You son of a gun. Okay, so on the right side of the screen here, where my cursor, just above my little picture there, I don't know if you guys can see, but they've cut these two manifolds in half, and the one on the left is ODOG's manifold. The one on the right is a stock manifold, and you see these little pillars in here. That's where the bolts go through that mount the intake manifold to the cylinder head. And what I did was I got a drill bit that would then you start drilling down, and it was the drill bit was big enough. I think I still have them somewhere. It was fat enough that you'd put the intake manifold in the drill press, and you drill down and you drill away that pillar until you got so far down, and we started figuring out how far we wanted to go. So we took so much out, and we'd use a bore scope and watch, and we started figuring out how much material we wanted to take out. So we did that on all of them except the back bolt holes. So then what I did was we bought aluminum threaded inserts with steel Allen drive plugs, kind of like the ODOG has, and I welded the aluminum threaded insert into the manifold. And so then what I did was I got Allen bolts that similar to what ODOG has, and you'd put the bolts in the intake manifold, and then you'd thread your Allen inserts in the manifold, and he's still running around on that to this day. So it worked well. Do I have I personally, that's from the boot turbo. Let me look at this again. Turbo from the turbo to the cold side pipe. So are you talking? So the hot side charged air cooler pipe goes from the turbo to the intercooler. The cold side pipe goes from the intercooler to the engine. So do you need turbo, that little elbow that goes from the turbo to the pipe, or do you need from the charge air pipe on the cold side between the pipe and the intake elbow? Yes. Probably the little elbow one. Around Freddie, I worked on a propane dealer. They had a gas engines that use propane hotter. Yeah, I was Ford offered, or companies offered retro kits, and I remember seeing a couple of those come in the dealership. I never worked on them. I was still pretty green at that point, and so I didn't get those. And I'm very thankful. Moonum, thanks a lot for coming around. I appreciate you chiming in. Always enjoy you, buddy. We'll see you in the next one. I should be Wednesday night. I'm going to do 6 p.m. Turbo to pipe Dunbar. I have personally dealt with, I'm going to look it up right now, is a company called Riff Raff Diesel. And I've personally installed theirs, but I heard that they were on back order not too long ago. Let's go look. Let's go take a gander. Come on, computer. Okay, we're going to go into their website. Let's make sure it's working for you guys. Okay, 0305. Nope, just going to do truck. 030760. Let's do Riffraff Diesel Products. There it is right there. 0307. It's $57 from them. Doesn't have any claims, but those are very good boots. I personally have experience with those. They were very nice. What did I do? I'm fat fingering over here. Come on. You can also buy, yeah, see it, there it is. Hot side and cold side. Let's see if they offer. See, I heard last I knew, I tried to get one of these for a truck about a month ago, and Ford was on back order. So they were tough. And the ones that you get at most, like auto parts stores, or the cheap ones you buy, they're going to blow off again. They do not resist oil very well. Let's look in here and see if they offer anything in the stock OEM factory. Maybe we should have gone to turbo. Oh, wait, here we are. Turbo related. No, they don't even offer it. They offer the driver's side pipe, $141. That's a pretty decent price. It's the that's the 0304 metal pipe to replace the plastic pipe that's known for. I don't know if we're gonna find it here. Let's see if we can find someone else that offers one. Go to the Giggle. 60 Power Stroke. If I can spell. Mishimoto offers a holy moly, they want $121 for 2 clamps, and it just seems a little on the high side. Turbo Inlet Pro Source Diesel. I think we're just that looks like a knockoff. I probably wouldn't buy one of those. $40. Yeah, there's the first one's from Riffraff. They're coming. Riffraff's coming. Then again, that might just because we searched. Aquanet hairspray. I guess I get it. I get why you're doing it, but I've never done that. I usually just make sure there's no oil residue, and then it does fine. I remember when that was a serious issue. We had trucks running left and right for blown large air cooler pipes, and the crazy thing is people didn't know how to fix it themselves. Okay, I think we're at an hour, just over an hour. I think I'm going to call it there. I really appreciate it. We had up to 7 people on here. That was super cool. It seems like every time we do this, it just fluctuates, and I feel like we're getting more people all the time. And I love getting more conversation, people chiming in, adding to the conversation. That's just very cool to me. The more we share with each other, the more we learn, the more we can. If you're a mechanic, the more you can offer to the customer. Whenever they come in, you can make sure you fix their stuff. You can have an idea of what to do already. That's the whole thing. Just that, and gives us something to do on a Sunday evening. Yeah, it's an old school hack. Have a great hack. I wouldn't call it a hack. If it works, it works. Hack is if you're doing some shady stuff to adding a little hairspray to something to add some stick. I mean, what is that? That's similar to what they do in dynos, I think, to add traction. But you know me, I will talk for another 10 minutes if I don't shut up now. So Wednesday night, 6 p.m. I'll see you there. Thanks, guys. See you later.